You're welcome once again to my live CCTV tutorial lessons. So far in our tutorials, we've talked about the CCTV cameras, specifically the HD cameras, into details. We have so far looked at the DVR, or the digital video recorder, and how you can install a surveillance drive into the DVR. So in today's lesson, we are looking at how you can prepare your CCTV cables. Remember, you'd recall that every CCTV camera comes with both a video terminal and a power terminal. And so the cablings that we'll be preparing today would be a video cable as well as a power cable. We'll be starting with the video cable preparation, but before we go to the preparations, here are a few tools that we'll be using in the course of this short presentation. I have here a cartridge knife for peeling my cables. I have some few screwdrivers that we'll be using, and then also a cutting ply which will be used for the cutting of cables. So I want to right away commence with the video cable terminations. This one has already been terminated fully with the BNC connectors at both ends. And so what I want to do is to cut off one end, so we look at the full process of setting up a fresh one. I'll be telling you the precautions you need to take and exactly what you need to do. So I'll first use my cutting ply to cut off this end, so that this is the end would be terminating afresh. I have my a couple of BNCs ready to be used. So the first thing is what I want to tell you first of all is that this is just one type of BNC connector. There are several types that you find in the market, but the mode of operation of BNC connectors is the same, whereby when we peel the cable, I will show you the basic similarity whenever you take BNC connectors. So basically, when you're able to use this, you should be able to use any kind of BNC connector for your termination of your CCTV video cable. So let's start. So I'll randomly pick one of them, and the first thing to do is to disassemble it. This particular one, disassembling it has to do with screwing and unscrewing the base from the top. So this part that I have removed from the base, I'll first have to place it on the BNC, or the coaxial cable. This cable is a coaxial cable, so I'll place it on it first. And then also there is also an insulation point, or an insulator, that is on the BNC. It also has to be placed on the cable. And then now to continue, we'll have to peel the cable and ensure that our cable sits into the BNC connector. So this is what I will do. I will use the cartridge knife here and try to reveal the conductors in the BNC cable. So I'll first try to create a mark on the coaxial cable. In trying to mark out this, you must not do it too hard to touch the cabling in the BNC. So as you can see, I'm slowly doing it so that I can reveal the braids in the coaxial cable. So when it goes round, you realize that you can just pull off the insulation. So we are interested in these external braids of the coaxial cable. These braids are very important. They are not for fun. You realize that this serves like a sort of grounding to your cable. So you need to make sure that you do not cut it off when using the cartridge knife. You do not cut them off, or you do not have the cartridge knife cut off these external braids of the coaxial cable. It's very, very important. So what we can do is to put the braids together, and then we can twist them together as one. And then also this foil, this aluminum foil, can be taken off from the cable. The next step is to measure up the BNC with the coaxial cable. You realize that the aluminum foil has been taken off, leaving the external braids. The external braids is very useful, and so the external braid is what will be touching, let me point out, this side of the BNC cable, so the external part of the BNC cable. And then also there's a point that will be touching the middle point of the BNC. So basically what will happen is that the inner part of the coaxial cable will then appear at this point, at the center of the BNC, and the external braid will then be touching the body of the BNC. Let me actually demonstrate, but before I do, I'll measure up the point that will be entering into the BNC with the cable, or the point that will be entering into the BNC. So when I measure up, I can cut off from a point here. When I measure it up like this, I can cut almost half of the BNC off, the coaxial cable off, pardon me. And then also this is how it will go. So I will need to remove the insulation on the coaxial cable, so that I have the internal core of the coaxial cable. So I would remove this one. So let me do a bit of education here. This is the central core of the BNC. This is the central core of the coaxial cable. Sorry for saying BNC. The central core of the coaxial cable. And this is the external braid. Both the central core and the external braids are equally important. So please, in your installations, don't cut off the external braid. The moment you cut off the external braid, you realize that the video cannot be transmitted over this cable. It's very important to note. So now the internal core, which is the central part of the cable, is what will then be establishing connection with this central part of the BNC connector. And then the external braid will be establishing contact with the body of the BNC connector. And as I mentioned earlier on, any other type of BNC connector will basically have the central point and then also the external side. So whatever type of BNC you have, always make sure that the central core of your coaxial cable is so terminated to connect into that central core, and then the braid is for the body part of the BNC connector. So this is what we'll do. In my type of BNC, there's a need to loosen this screw here to receive the central core of the BNC. So I'll simply use my star screwdriver and then loosen that middle part, loosen it gradually so that the central core can enter. So this is how it will be. The central core will enter into the hole where the screw is at this point. It will be entering that point, and then the external braid can be made to touch the body of the BNC. So this is how it will go inside like that, and then you find that the external braid is here. I can see that the central core is not sitting properly, so I have to cut off a bit of the central core so I can